now we got Doug Eldridge with us. He won't be doing any impressions here, but I did want to get his impression. The sports agent extraordinaire, daily agency founder. This player, Doug, always good to have you. Thank you very much. Saquon Barkley, right, of the Giants. All his endorsement deals he wants priced in Bitcoin. That's a pretty risky move. What did you make of it?
I almost equate it to Final Jeopardy, when the contestants have to determine how much they're going to wager before Alex Trebek would read them the question or the answer. In Barkley's case, he was the second pick in the 2018 draft. He had a $30 million contract, $20 million on a signing bonus. I believe the entirety of that $30 million contract was guaranteed. He's coming up not only off of an ACL injury, but he's coming up on what will be his second contract. Now, statistically, just as a quick aside, most NFL players never see their second contract. The average career is 2.5 years. So if you come into the league at 22, statistically, you're out before you're eligible for reduced car insurance at 25. Okay, so Saquon's looking around the corner and what's coming down the bend, and he's saying, in the context of Final Jeopardy, I'm willing to wager 30% or roughly $10 million of future earnings in the context of Bitcoin, because his off-field endorsements are estimated to be around $10 million. So it really is that decision that each player has to make before they hear the question in terms of this Bitcoin.
Yeah, but he can afford to, right? He can afford to because he's got such a large guaranteed deal, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And by all accounts,
So then play that out. Now, why couldn't he just split it up a little bit? I mean, Bitcoin, it's a very volatile ride. He knows it. You and I know it. So maybe hedge your bets a little, but he's just plunking it all in there. Might work out, but it's a roller coaster.
Well, I think it goes to the sensibility of the individual investor. I mean, to be candid, I don't think I would be inclined to push all 10 million chips into the middle of the table and say, let it ride. But, who's to say that he doesn't have a great financial team around him? And there also might be some insurance riders built into that, since the company is partnering with him in a very visible context and saying, hey, we're going to put a catch net under here. They're going to see you flipping on the trapeze, but don't worry, we've got a double catch net. We'll guard against substantial loss. But, he talks about guarding against inflation, trying to create, generational wealth for himself and for his family. And you have to admire the mindset. I mean, in the context of inflation, not every player is perhaps subscribed to the REIT mindset of the tips, and at least he's not, investing in a depreciating asset. He's looking at what, for in 2021, for a 23-year-old professional athlete, is the equivalence of that diversification and something to guard against it. I'm not sold on crypto or Bitcoin, as it were. Not to say I'm right or wrong, but to me, it feels equal parts investment and gamble.
Yeah, and it probably is, and more lately gamble than investment. But I always tell people, as you probably do yourself, that, look, if you have money, you can risk losing, and that might happen. Right. But you want to sort of roll the dice. I mean, it could also work out very, very nicely. But you've got to be going into it eyes wide open. What I do find encouraging, Doug, whether this is a strategy on his part that might backfire, that he's paying attention to his money. How many athletes you've probably represented, who don't, and we've seen the losses of like a Mike Tyson in boxing. At once he was worth $1 billion in ring winnings and endorsements, and now, well, let's just say not $1 billion anymore. So maybe this is a reminder that athletes and other stars who should pay better attention to their money and where it's going.
I think you're spot on, sir. I think win or lose, it's the man in the arena, it's the man that has the courage. It's not the critic in the stand, it's the one in there that has the dirt on his face. And in so many ways, I think that's what Saquon's doing. I really believe this is a lead by example moment. And I think he's really indicative of this newer class of professional athletes across the Big Four and even into the Olympic spectrum that are very cognizant of a very short window that they have to capitalize on their capabilities. And it has to last, in many cases, the rest of their lifetime, and in some rare cases, to their children and their grandchildren. And I think he's really leading by example, and I've seen it with my own clients over the last 12 years. The trend line is changing, and it's ticking upward for the positive. They're cognizant of the limited shelf life and timeline they have in this chosen endeavor, and they want to maximize those opportunities, not just while they're on the court, the field, or the track, but they want to create that clutch and accelerator, that transition to the next chapter. And I think it's a bold move. I think it's a brave move, but I think it's something that others should sit up and pay attention to, whether they get in the Bitcoin line or not. Understand that there are ways to not only guard your wealth, but to multiply it as well.
That's very well said. Doug, thank you very much. Doug Eldridge, a sports agent extraordinaire, very, very smart guy as well.